Okay, Glenn, you have the stream pulled up, right?
Yep. I'll let you know as soon as I see it. There you go.
Yeah. Can you see us?
Yeah, it looks like everything's okay. Hold on
Okay.
just a second. Uh, I don't see video.
No video. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah,
Oh
I
dear.
don't see video either.
I was afraid of that. Um. Video. It should be working. Why isn't it working? The sound is working. It's just
Sound is working.
sound is working. Okay, we're trying to get a video back off. Oh, that's.
Are we live yet?
We are live, but we haven't got. We are currently having a black screen, and I don't know why.
You know, I'm not going to edit this out in the video in the podcast version of this podcast, right?
Us trying to figure out why we're seeing a black screen, but audio only. So technically, it doesn't make a difference.
The difficult thing is because
So
what-
yeah, if you're listening to the Apple Podcast, Spotify version, etc., you're not missing anything right
you're
now.
not missing anything of that now. If you're watching through YouTube for the live stream version,
Yeah.
I'm currently
Sorry for that.
Yeah, I'm currently going through all the settings, and I was
You
afraid
could
of this.
close your eyes and just get the same effect.
Yeah, you could do a thing like Pictionary like.
Brick Model Railroader at Home Podcast Experience. Close your eyes. There you go.
Oh dear.
We're just gonna paint word pictures for everyone.
Okay, I'm really messing up the settings right now. Dear. Damn it.
First time back in a little while, and it all goes terribly.
Well, the settings are exactly the same like the last one. That's the strangest thing. I didn't change anything.
Yeah, but maybe Discord did,
Yeah.
or YouTube, or
Well, the strange...
BMR, ambitious but rubbish.
we do our best.
We do
That's
our
all we
best
ask.
with what we have. Damn it! I should. I was thinking about testing it today, but.
Tech in black, God. It's horrible kill.
Stream video encoder. Video. Basic. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Oh. Is there something changing? No. Damn it!
Well, this podcast is still going to be about OcTrainber. We might just have to do the audio only version of it.
Well, if you guys are able to start just with the audio version, and in the meantime, I'll try to figure out if I'm able to get a video up.
Right?
Reband,
Who is starting then?
yeah, Race, do you want to do the honor of starting?
Who, me?
Yeah, Octrember is your
Oh,
little
sorry.
child, so.
That's true. That's true. Fair enough.
Well, let's
Yeah.
let's make sure that everybody understands who's on the podcast so far. So I'm Glenn. I'm on the podcast right now. Just for
I'm
everybody.
Kale.
Kale.
I'm on the. I'm I'm Kale Leapart. I'm on the podcast right now.
Yep, and I'm Gerbrand, better known as Race. I'm here as well, and I think the last one.
Yeah, I'm Enrico. I am on the podcast, but I'm currently going through all the settings why we haven't got live scenes.
He may not be on further podcasts.
This might be my last
Might
one.
be his last one.
If he doesn't get it in another 5 minutes, we'll have to kick him off.
Yeah, we're going to get a replacement, a cheaper one who's able to do it.
The servers at YouTube must be running on hamster wheels today, or Discord. But
I have no idea. I believe it's the stream audio that I'm using. The OBS that I'm using. So
Okay.
it's giving a
Well,
black screen. So, but go ahead.
we
Go
do
ahead.
still have, yeah, we do still have audio. So, Raised, take it away.
Yeah. So we decided to do an extra, well, in quotation, extra podcast this sunny evening because of Octrember. I think in the beginning of September is the best moment ever to start talking about it. We decided with all of us that it would be cool to kick off Octrember in September with a podcast without video, which of course
Sorry.
kind of beats the whole idea of the story that I was going to tell. But yeah, that's how it goes. Where do we want to start, guys? So
I
shall we
think we should start
start?
with what is Octrember exactly for those that might not be familiar.
That's a very fair point. So I have it in the presentation. In the presentation, in the pictures, but no pictures. We do it on audio.
You just have to explain what they would be seeing.
Exactly. So the first thing you would have seen now is a logo. The Brick Model Railroader presents Octrember logo. And the second thing you would have seen is the quote. When I first wrote the first post for Octrember 4 years ago now, we hadn't really thought of a name or anything like that. And at one point I just thought we should find a name that was just as stupid as September and November. November with all V. And it should fit in between those two. So yeah, I actually wrote, first of all, the name. It's called Octrember, if somebody had not noticed yet. Why Octrember? Well, it's a great intermediate month between September and November. Also, trains.
There you go. And that's all the information you really need to know about it.
There was not a lot more behind it, to be honest.
And we kind of figured out something to put with the name.
Yeah, indeed. And
So that's where we started.
yeah, and actually, where we really started, so I think Brick Model Railroader was live for about 3/4 of a year at that time.
That's correct.
Glenn and
Yes.
Kale had gone live, I think, in January or something.
Correct.
Mhm.
And I had been playing around in my head with organizing a contest for ages. I think out of my head, I'd been the last winner of the Flickr Lego Train Mox building challenges that Swoofty and Gambord used to organize.
That's a throwback.
That's really a long time ago. I was still in college,
Hey,
university back then.
I participated in that. You're making me feel old.
Well, I wasn't even an adult yet. I was entering my teenage years, getting into those Flickr challenges.
I actually kind of blew a whole course during university to win this challenge once.
Oh man,
So you know,
man's got his priorities.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
exactly. I even enlisted one of my my roommates to help me out because last minute I had only like one nose, and the other nose was had to be a copy. So I asked him to fill that one out.
So you cheated.
But I wouldn't say cheating. That's so rude. Yeah, that's so rude.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So I think I'm not really sure anymore, but I think I was the last one that won one of these contests. And so I felt a little bit morally obliged to start something up again. I think in the meantime, there's been 1 or 2 rail breaks contests, but for me, those were, I was able to compete in those. And then at one point I thought, well, how cool would it be if Brick Model Railroader has their own challenge? And I think I came up with that about somewhere between August and September in that same year. So yeah, then October does Octrember was kind
Yeah,
of the best moment to just kick it off.
I remember chatting about it in the months leading up to it, and it really we really kind of like played around with it in those the short few weeks that we had before the actual month of October, because we still didn't know what we were doing with it quite
Yeah.
quite much just then. But
And we still don't know
yeah,
what we're doing with it.
we have a good idea now. We've I think it would be important later in the podcast to make sure that we go over some of the changes and how we're going to operate it differently this year than we have the last couple years.
Yep. So to put it first, I think Octrember has always been about, it's a building challenge. So we have always had the idea to challenge people to build something that they would normally not build. It was really meant as a way how to get builders out of their comfort zone, but at the same time get them in the model railroading experience. And we have every year we've been walking a very thin line between being a challenge, getting people out of their comfort zone, but keeping it a model railroad experience. And it's fair what you say, Glenn. I think this year we're going a little bit the other direction than the previous years, because of course our contest has been all about trains. Trains were always the most important part of the entries. Trains were the things we scored on. I actually have a picture here of the winner of the first year. The NSW. There was the Swoosh challenge, and that one actually the winner has a great diorama with with the design, and we never scored this diorama. I now realize.
Yep, that's correct. So, do you want to run through the three challenges that we've done so far to give an idea of like how we set up OcTrainber? Like it's different every year. Give an example.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So in the first year, I remember as well, we kind of on the last moment decided, well, what would be really cool and really crazy to do was to make a challenge where people had to build a train that was as long as possible, but still had to go through R40 curves. Kind of making fun of ourselves because at that point, Brick Tracks had already come out with R104, R88 curves, and we had before had me models as well. But we thought it would be hilarious to see if we could like build real life model railroad models in Lego, but also get them to run through the most silly curves there are in the whole Lego hobby.
Oh yes.
And I think we actually managed really well, I must say. It's really unfortunate that we don't have a video at the moment. But maybe you, Glenn, can share that movie that Bob Hayes
Yes,
made in the
I
chat.
will link. Yes, I'm gonna link that in the chat. Give me just 1 second. So this is what I'm going to link right here is one of the winning entries of the first Octrember challenge. So the first Octrember challenge was the Swoosh challenge, and as Ray said, it was just build something ridiculously long that could still go through as tight of. I think we did officially say it had to go through the standard Lego curves, or what we call R40s, and so. A lot of people took that and went a lot of different directions with it. And so one of the we had this PDF that we would have screen shared with everybody. So one of the winning entries was a Garrett 482 plus 284 or 484, whatever it was. There was a dual flat car carrying a giant windmill blade. Chris Stone, who has actually now joined the BMR team, he was not part of BMR at the time, built a flexible 2662 Mallet locomotive with a flexible boiler, which was pretty weird. Someone built a multi-section like articulated track or maintenance of way piece of equipment. I don't remember what the name of it was, but then the final.
It was a hot carrier.
Yes, that was Hod Carrier. He did a fantastic job on that. The one that I linked though was just kind of. It was so ridiculously silly that we had to give it the win, and so that's what I've linked in the chat. And if you click on that video, it'll take you to the one and only Flickr media piece that was entered for that model, and it's just a video of a Metroliner set modified to be as long as a circle of R40 curves with two 9-volt motors at each end. So it's ridiculously long, but it can still make it around R40 curves. And if you watch the video all the way to the end, you'll see that it can just spin itself around on one circle of R40 track. It is absolutely hilarious. So that
It's
was
the best.
that was
It's
the first
amazing.
year.
It's amazing.
And so we set some criteria up for this, and then we scored based on that. We had myself, Kale, Gerbrand, and who was our other judge that year?
Matt was the judge that year, the guest judge.
I believe you're right. Yep. And so we all scored based on some different criteria, and those were the winners that we found. The other years were set up similarly with different challenges. The second year, help me remember, what was the second year?
The second year we had the foreign challenge. The
Yes.
idea of the foreign challenge, because we were kind of, I remember after the swoosh challenge, we were thinking, should we do the exact same challenge again next year, or should we think of something else that really gets people out of their comfort zones? And I
Yeah.
remember us chatting around for a while about what we should do, and then somebody thought, well, would it not be cool if we challenge people to build something from the continent where they're not living? Because 9 out of 10 people build the trains that they see most of the time, build the trains that they live with, they ride on. And we said, like, listen, guys, just try to build something that you would never build, because normally you would not live there. And we got totally different designs from that, because when you don't have the restriction on length anymore, a very small rail bus can actually win the grand prize.
And it did.
It was
Yeah.
exactly. And even more cool was that the guy who won the digital prize the year before, Hot Carrier, now won the in real life grand prize with an actual build.
Exactly. I remember following his. So this is, to give the context for everyone, because we can't show the photo. It's consider like a 1960s. I'm not sure what the actual prototype was, but it's like a 1960s looking American school bus, like big yellow just bus, and then you remove the road wheels from it, put train wheels under it, and then put a luggage rack on the top and a cow catcher on the front. And I believe Hod Carrier was explaining in his Eurobricks thread on it. I think he said it ran in Argentina or somewhere in South America. I could be completely
Yeah, I
off
think it was
base with
somewhere
that,
in
but-
South America.
No, it was somewhere in South America, at least.
But so yeah, this is just this random, just podunk like bus passenger service that ran on narrow gauge rails, and he made it entirely like it. It looks like the bus body is actually very well done. It has all of the power functions components inside of it, so it can self-operate. And that was our grand prize winner, was it not?
It was, yeah. And it was a total departure from the year before, because if I counted correctly, it's not more than, I think, 25, well, maybe 35 studs long.
Yep.
Compared to the
Yeah, it's not a
winner
very
of the
big
year
model.
before. The Garrett was like, I don't know, 90 studs or something. So it was
Yeah.
ridiculous difference. But it actually did more, because Alexander McCook, I think it's his surname.
Yeah, Alexander McCook.
He came up with the Lartigue monorail that year. Of course,
that man.
Oh, yeah.
That man works black magic with Lego. I can't understand
that
it.
was crazy what he built. That was like, if you then ask people to just do a foreign challenge, I mean, he's from Australia, so that's fine. He will come up with something from Europe or Russia or I don't know from where. But then he comes up with a monorail that actually functions, but it's like the Lego monorail. He built his own track. He built his own set pieces. He built his own locomotive, wagons. They were motorized with power functions and the whole thing.
So the prototype is this Irish twin-boilered steam locomotive that was a monorail. So it had a single rail running down the middle between the two boilers, and then like I think 2 guide rails that are underneath it. I'm looking at the photo now. And then so like you would have passengers ride on either side of the rail, and they would have to load the cars evenly. There was also like a cattle car, I think he was saying that they had to load that evenly when they needed it too. And it completely functions, like it operates. He's built a track system, he's built an infrastructure for it. And so what I really like about this is not just that it's foreign from Alexander, who lives in Australia, but this is foreign as in like this is like the
Really
most
foreign. Yeah.
ridiculous concept of a train that you could just about ever think of. And
Yeah.
It's even for a
definitely
train, it's
deserving of a
foreign.
win that
Yeah.
year. Yeah, it was definitely deserving of a win that year.
Yeah. Who built something like this? No one built
Exactly.
something like this.
Well, both in real life and in Legos. Why would you do
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a very, very specific need for that kind of a rail service in Ireland.
The cool thing was, I now remember. I think that actually in that year, Mike Pianta, didn't he also build the narrow gauge railway that was operated by a hidden 9-volt railway with magnets underneath it?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
He had also
I think
done
that was
a
that
narrow
year as
gauge
well.
train, and it did operate. So there was some really clever stuff that came out of this that we weren't expecting.
It kind of, I must say, it kind of blew us away. I don't think we had expected that in the second year of the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was actually it was Mike Hunt who actually did that. It was, why didn't he win? I mean, that narrow gauge thing, that was so cool.
I think that was a strong contender, if I remember correctly, during the scoring period. I think that was a very strong contender for a number of reasons.
yeah.
What I
I think
really
the
liked
problem is
about
we had too many good entries.
yeah, that was kind of it. And the thing was, he had an amazing work in progress story. Because
Yes,
just like every year, we have 3 categories where you can score in. You have credibility. So how credible is the prototype? Does it make sense from a model railroad perspective, but also from a real life perspective? Does it fit in? Then we have the second factor, which is the factor that is part of the contest. So in the first year, it was the length and swoosh factor. In the second year, it was how foreign was the whole thing. But we also have a third factor always, which is the work in progress factor. And it kind of means that the more WIP photos that you're posting during the month, the more chance you have of winning that thing. And the more you explain how your model is being built to inspire others, the more chance that you have that you win that one. And even though Mike did a really great job there, he was actually outclassed by Donald Raab, who had like explained us everything how Wiener Lilien Ulf tram was built. Like he went all the way from all the problems that he saw that arose, how he connected the things, how he last minute ordered his last bricks, etc., etc.
that reading his posts while he was building that model was like watching a movie. Like I felt like I was watching a movie just reading it. It was like down to the wire. Like it felt like I was reading a movie script. And yeah, he did a great job. Yeah, the whip story, work in progress, WIP story is a big thing that we score because we want to understand a number of other things just besides the pictures that are submitted for the model. We want to understand like why it was chosen by the builder. We want to understand, how it's put together. We want to understand the thought process. We want to understand, all those kind of different things that go into a model that aren't or that go beyond just what the finished product is. Because there's so much that if you go to a show and you can talk to anyone who builds models, they will tell you everything that you could ever hope to know about what they did. Like they can tell you techniques, they can tell you why and how they did it, they can tell you the history of what, a number of things, and that's all really important to models. And I think it's a really good thing to score, and especially in a place like this.
Oh yes, definitely.
So that was the second. What other did we have for the second year? We had Brick Nerd on Flickr built a wonderful H50. What was the name? H15-44, a Fairbanks Morse diesel from the United States.
Yeah.
That's how it's written here. H15-44. Yep.
And he did a wonderful job on that. It's
I think
dark.
that
It's
was.
two-tone green. It's dark green
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sand green.
That
Is that?
sand
I
green
think
is
that's
amazing in
7
that
wide,
model.
isn't it?
What's that?
Isn't that
Yes,
7
and that's
wide?
seven studs wide, because he's
Which
weird.
is not
and built
easy.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was really
Because he's
upset
weird.
because I would love to ask him to build me a copy of that in 8 wide. Because he did such a good job on it. So if you look up the H1544, it's a Fairbanks Morse diesel locomotive, and it's one of the first generation diesel locomotives that appeared in the United States railroads. And it's you can kind of tell it's got like this, stylized curvature on the cab, and it's got like curves around the long and short hoods and stuff like that. And he modeled all of that, and he did a fantastic job on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of
Yeah.
those few locomotives that still believed that styling was necessary in the US.
Oh yeah, that's part of the reason I love Fairbanks Morse.
They have beautiful trains.
I know Kale does too.
Yeah.
So that was the second year. That was the 2018 challenge. Was the foreign challenge, and we did it last year as well.
Yep. We had a Technic challenge last year. Because again, we were thinking like, okay, well, what is a thing that that we don't see often enough, and which we should maybe support a little bit more. And I think then after last year, it was a bit more difficult, I think, to figure out which topic we would do.
It
And at
was.
one point, one of us said like, no, let's just do movement. Well, yeah, okay, but trains are moving things. Yeah, but not that movement. What movement then? No, other movements like non-train related movements. And
Or movement on the train itself.
oh yeah, true, yeah.
Yeah.
Other than the train propelling itself down the line.
And again, it actually gave really cool. The winner. I only have his flicker name. The Brick Fight, it was called.
Yes.
It's the guy. Oh, that's funny. I never realized that it's the guy who actually won 2 years before with the length category with his wind turbine blade train. I never made that connection. Sorry, guys.
I'm not sure I did either,
he made an amazing 250-ton industrial brown hoist wrecker crane with all the working power functions.
Yeah.
That thing totally moved.
Onboard mounted electronics, hand operated outriggers, but the crane you can adjust and lower the boom. You can spin the crane around. Got an incredible counterweight on it, which I believe is just the battery. He's strung up all of the hoists and the lift, and I don't know, I forget the technical terms, but absolutely incredible model, and goes out to 10 studs wide, I believe. It was big. I know one of the things that I was reading about his whip story was that he wanted desperately to try to keep it down to 8 wide, but it just wasn't feasible in the end.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And it can actually lift.
Yeah. He's got like
that was the most surprising
motors.
part.
He's got 2 or 3 motors in that crane body, which is just astounding because you have to fit all that, the gearing. And I believe he's got photos of that on his Flickr if you go on and Flickr and look up the brick files.
He does, yeah, and he has a great movie of how it functions.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I think in one of the movies he actually lifts our BMR PS1 boxcar.
Yeah, I think you're right. I forgot about that. That was an impressive thing to see.
Because that's not a light car.
Yeah, it's a capable model too.
Yeah, so that was very impressive. I really enjoyed that. But then also there was Casey Jr.
Oh, Chris Stone again.
Oh man, that was just
always
so cool.
Chris Stone.
Yeah. So everybody is familiar with, just about everybody is familiar with the Dumbo and Casey Jr. The Disney animated version with the little 240 and the very cartoony looking train, but very very characteristic train.
Yeah.
Chris Stone.
Very Disney.
The same Chris Stone is who's joined the BMR team since. Made this wonderful multi-faceted animated Casey Jr. locomotive that is tiny, but it is not lacking for detail and fun. So he made the way that he did this is that he used Big Ben medium drivers and then made basically a camshaft off of that to rotate the entire boiler and cab to give that kind of side sway that you see in the animated version. He also made the pistons flexible to allow to accompany that, and the stack moves up and down as it to simulate the animated puffing too. And that all works. He's got a passenger car with it, again stylized from the same movie, that's fitted with power functions components, and it works. Oh, it is a treat to watch. He's got a photo of that on his Flickr too, or a video of it as well.
It's crazy. I mean, the locomotive's animated just like the movie. It's so great.
Instantly recognizable.
The thing I like the most about Casey Jr. is that he actually, as far as I understood, he built it for his son.
Oh, that's
That
good.
is correct.
So he didn't even. It was not only about winning the contest, but it was also about. It must have been really cool for his son to have a Casey Jr. Lego train now. That's, I mean, shivers.
I'm not gonna lie, I would kind of also like to have one of those.
Very
It's such a
jealous
good
kid
model.
if my dad would build these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we actually had an even more intriguing one because I think Flip US, Phil B, he drama where the only thing that was not moving was the train.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wonderful. That was cool.
That was so clever.
Just took the rules and completely flipped them upside down. So I'm gonna make
Exactly.
the train that is the only thing that doesn't move. So
That's
what was built is this tiny little narrow gauge 240 steam locomotive that sits still while you see the scenery moving by on it on kind of like a conveyor system, if I'm remembering correctly.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
the
I think it
track
was.
rubs up against the wheels of the stationary locomotive and spins those, and then there's like a telephone pole that goes by, and he's made like a viewing port for somebody to watch it, and you turn it on, and then the train sits still and everything moves back behind it, which is really cool because if you think about a train, like the train or if you're on the train, you see the scenery moving by, not the train moving by.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
It was-
you know, this is one of these things, and you see that with more of the entries over the years, where you know, we on purpose always try to be a little bit vague with rules, because we want to challenge people, but also we want to see how far their creativity can go. I mean, it's Lego after all. It's just like a very creative medium. And when you see how people kind of manage to bend the rules without actually bending them, I mean, they stay very well within the rules because they're so fake.
Yep.
They come out with such crazy things, and it never stops to amaze me. Like again, Bob with his Metroliner, the Lartigue monorail, but yeah, definitely also this railway moving box from Phil. And I think that's a cool thing, and that's what we had for 3 years, and I think that's also a really nice bridge to this year, because yeah, we have done it a little bit differently than the previous 3 years, because for the first time we decided not to focus on the train itself, but finally to put some love into dioramas and into not layouts, but in scenery and scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just
that kind of has one. Yeah, exactly. Because you know, most of the time, the scene, the diorama, that really makes the thing, you know, fit in and work. Actually, if you look back to previous years, quite a lot of people handed in their models with scenery. I mean, definitely more than enough models with just track that also won.
Yeah.
But if you look back, you see quite a lot of like fully functional. And we never put any interest in it, and we never put any effort into scoring those scenery things. If you look at the first ever Grand Prize win with the Garrett, Alexander made some amazing. It's you know, and we never scored it.
It's sitting on this bridge. It's got this
There's
nice rock work, some trees, a couple of animals down
there's
in
ducks.
this
There's
shallow river,
exactly.
some
Yeah,
railroad crossing on the far side,
it's
and
a
a
really
fence.
beautiful scene.
It is, and I
Yeah,
can't
we
remember
never
where I read
scored
it
it.
somewhere. Yeah, yeah, just don't care about it. Look at the Garrett on it, and that's it.
Yeah, whatever. It's a train.
Yeah. Um, forget where I read it, but I read somewhere that the layout and the scenery around them gives the trains the purpose,
Oh, that's a good one.
which I think is a really accurate and precise way of saying it, because like we've all seen just people running trains. Like I can just run trains on my apartment floor and be happy with it, but to put them on a layout and have them moving through scenery, have them moving through, through and around buildings, over roads, it adds another like 6 dimensions of like what you're actually viewing, and it's a whole new level of
Yeah,
appreciation. So we definitely, yeah, that's why we thought it was time to turn our attention to something that isn't specifically train related.
yeah. Like
So we
I've
made one very special rule in that sense. Or oh no, go ahead, Kel.
oh, I was gonna say like I've always heard it said that the trains are the actors, and the scenery, the layout is the stage. It's and
That's a good way of saying it too.
you know, and when you have both, you know, working well together, it just it brings everything to life.
It's a really good way of saying it.
So that's actually, I think, the reason why when we specified this year's rules, we said several things. We said we will keep the idea of what a diorama is on purpose as vague as possible. Just go all out with your creativity. But every diorama needs to have some form of track and some form of a train. It's a building challenge hosted by Brick Model Railroader, after all. Just go all out with your creativity here as well. And I think that's a big departure. Because we then, of course, got some extra questions, mostly about, well, yeah, what does it mean, some form of track and some form of train? And we discussed this quite a lot internally, and we realized that what we actually meant was that the train for the first time is not taking center stage, which means that technically this year, for the first time, you can enter a diorama with, I don't know,
The Emerald Knight. Yeah, the Emerald
or
Knight,
maybe
for
a
example.
BMR boxcar.
Yeah.
The Emerald. You can even, if you really want to, you could potentially add the Emerald Knight. Yeah, it's not.
As
It's
much
allowed.
as Gervin doesn't like the set, you can enter it.
That old model.
You can. Yeah.
You're art going to win, but you can that.
Will be difficult, but
I'll vote for you. I like the Emerald Knight.
I'm not going into. I'm staying away from this discussion. No,
we have to fill people in now. This is an offshoot and completely unrelated. But there was a question posed on one of the Facebook Lego train groups, and Gerben comment about the Emerald Knight, and Gerben commented that he doesn't understand why it's so popular, and I see his point. I'm not gonna lie. But
yeah, but I might have. It would have maybe been smart in hindsight to put my point a little bit differently.
that's all right. I understand. I think you did a good job of explaining it.
It was a lot of drama.
Oh, people like Kale will defend the Emerald Knight to no end.
Yeah, they're. I don't know what's wrong
as
with
a
those
Lego
people.
set. As a Lego set.
Well, we should get back on track then.
Yeah, because I'm not going to discuss into this.
sorry that I intervened. Sorry.
No, but you can do whatever you want this year. I mean, of course, we are going to judge the diorama and the train together. So if the Emerald Knight is in a place where it really fits, or I don't know, in a place where it definitely doesn't fit, but where it fits the story, then it's fine. You can also build your own train. Perfect, please do so. But for the first time ever, it's all about the scene. That goes center stage.
I think a good way of saying it is that we're not judging the trains themselves. I think we're judging the scenery or the diorama, etc., around it, and how well the train works with what it's on and what it's, we're judging how the train is incorporated into the scene, not judging the train.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like you can build a personal favorite setting of mine is these old decrepit industrial looking sidings. And, if you put this brand new, modern piece of equipment down there, it's not going to look quite as right if you put something old and decrepit. In my opinion, anyways, it's not going to look quite as right if you put something else old and decrepit in the scene. If something sticks out like a sore thumb, then it's, it
Just doesn't fit. No,
yeah.
true. Other than that, of course, we will keep the old stuff. So for the first time in 2 years, well, technically, well, no, with a hiatus of 1 year, we will allow digital builds again, which I'm kind of looking forward to, because normally it's a great advantage to build digitally, because a train is a small thing to build, so it's easy to do that digital. But this time, if you want to join, you really have to put you have to stack a lot of digital bricks as well, and it might even break your computer. So I'm looking forward to digital builds this year.
Yeah.
They're in a different category, correct?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, just like every year. So what we've done every year until now is we have always scored digital build on a different category. They can't win the grand prize. They kind of can win or the digital grand prize or a runners-up prize, but they can never win the grand prize, because we of course believe that you should build a set and like show it around. It's how our hobby grows, by going to events and by showing your train in real life. But of
Quite
course
hard
we
to
know that not
display a
everybody
digital
has
model.
enough breaks. It's quite difficult. Well, you can take your laptop with you to a model railroad show.
It's a bit
this is my
less
build.
interesting. Like I do a lot of digital building myself, so I'm not intending to speak poorly on those who do. But in my opinion, if I'm at a show,
definitely not.
if I'm looking at, there's this wonderful layout, and like even just a display of steam locomotives or whatever, just in a diorama, even if they're not moving, it's like, wow, that is very interesting, and I can like look at all the details. I can like tilt my head around to see the back side of it and such. And then if somebody shows me a laptop screen, I can still appreciate it, but it's not just like it's sitting right in front of me. It's kind of a thing.
It doesn't. It feels differently. If I'm looking at a picture now at the moment of a real build, it feels like I can touch it. I can see the smears on the tiles. I can put it here in front of me. And if I then look at the digital build, it's just different. It's just different.
Yeah, I build models digitally, and they're nice, but when you actually build that model then in actual bricks and have it right in front of you in real life, that's so much more.
That's another dimension.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so much more enjoyable to like have the actual physical model sitting there in front of you and be able to look at it and examine it.
I think with a real build model, you get a different perspective instead of a digital model. Most of the time, the digital model is always you look at one side of the layout or the diorama, and with a real life version, you can go down, you go up, you have the top view, you can move around. I think it gives a bit more realism and more of a comparable.
You feel like you're in the scene.
Yeah,
almost.
exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
But anyways, we're going to allow digital builds, so feel free. But just hear what we're saying.
We have all of the rules and clarifications. We've actually posted a clarifications article on some of the original rules up on the Brick Model Railroader website. So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to head there, or feel free to drop us a line as well.
I got a couple of questions in the live stream, if you want to discuss those.
Do we have anything else that we want to mention specifically yet? We're getting up on the 45
I think
minute mark.
there's one thing I think, and that's that we have 3 categories this year next to the fact that we enter digital builds, and there will this year be based on base plates.
32 by 32 stud base plates specifically.
32 by 32 base plates. Yeah.
And
exactly.
that is to say we're not going to disqualify your entry if you build on something other than a 32 by 32 base plate. We're just
Definitely
using
not.
that as
No.
a size reference. So it's basically a square studdage, if you will.
It's just a range that we're looking for.
Yeah, but also there, just go all out. I can definitely see some guys who are maybe not using base plates. Feel free. It's like as usual. Try to bend the rules. Feel free.
Try to bend the rules.
You could build a microscale diorama on something as small as an 8x8 plate if you really wanted to.
I've seen some good ones there. You should go in the Flickr group. There's people that post those like every once in a blue moon, and some of them are just killer.
Yeah.
I've seen one in microscale where they built a whole railway station with all the sidings, and that was amazing. That was, and it's smaller than my keyboard.
Yeah.
A whole railway empire in the space of your desk.
So even if you don't have a lot of bricks, you could still do something really, really cool and awesome and creative. And, we're looking for that.
Sky is the limit.
Like that's one of the great things about the Octrember contest is, each year we try and think of something, that builders can use to kind of push the limits and, come up with something
and then we see a lot of builders push the limits and then beyond.
Yeah. And it's like, we're going to get some cool stuff this year. And then at the end, we're like, wow, we weren't expecting that.
Didn't expect that one.
That's definitely true. I think every year I've sat down to look through everything that's entered and just like, wow, just like some people really took this and ran with it. And to those people who have entered, and also to those who have won, of course. And if you're thinking about entering, like, do it. We love to see one, the participation. We love to see the creativity. It's a wonderful, wonderful part about what we do, and you probably could win a cool prize. So why not just go for it?
Do it.
Okay, I got, I believe, 1 or 2 questions in the live chat. First of all, can I enter a layout as a diorama that I'm working on for Octrember?
I think a layout would be fine. I think Gerbrand's frozen, by the way.
Is he?
So whenever he comes back in, he can clarify that.
Yeah,
I think a layout would just fall under the, well, of course, depending on how big it is, but presumably it would just fall under the largest size category.
Yeah.
I believe we already discussed the difference between a diorama and a layout in one of the clarification rules.
Yeah, a layout can, I would say, well, fill me in if I'm wrong, but I think a layout was like you can move a train from around in a complete loop, and then a diorama is just the track ends somewhere.
Yeah, I believe something around that, or that you are able to operate trains at a from a layout instead of a diorama. Something in that range. I'm not really sure.
That would make sense because, like, you'd consider a switching layout as a little bit bigger than a diorama. A diorama is just a scene.
Yeah, exactly.
A layout is like multiple dioramas put together.
Yeah.
The other question, as you have
we
probably...
need Gerbrand back in here because I don't want to answer something wrong.
Well, you should have bought better internet or pay the bill or something like that. Oh, he just left.
Just bounced out.
Okay.
He'll probably come back in just a minute or two.
Yeah, I'm going to ask the second question. As you probably have seen, Tony Sava has built a working system for 2-way trains. I'm planning to do a diorama in that scale, and if I use this track system and give them credit, will I be
disqualified?
Disqualified. Okay, yeah.
It's shorthand. I would say that. So the question is that a builder has developed a technique for building a 2 stud wide train system that operates, and is wondering if he could use the same track system with proper credit. Will that be grounds for disqualification? I would say no. As long as the credit is given and you have the okay from him, but what do you guys think? Did our rules already say otherwise and I'm forgetting?
I'm not a judge, so Kill.
No. I think I agree with Glenn on this. I think it would be okay to use it as long as obviously you credit the original builder. The
I would say
system
you should probably ask for permission as well.
it would probably be a good idea. Just a common courtesy.
Yeah, knowing Tony, he might want to enter that himself.
Yeah, so it might be
But
it'd definitely be a good idea to contact him and see.
Yes. Gerbern's internet broke down and it doesn't seem to be coming back.
Okay.
Oh no.
Now we're going to wrap it up. The last question: if I enter diorama on a 48 by 48 base plate, which size category is it in? I believe
so. Could you go through the size categories if we have that pulled up, just real quick?
Working on it. Ruler.com. Yes, it's coming up.
Probably could have had that pulled up ahead of time, so I apologize.
Yeah, same here. We have three sizes. The small is 1 to 2, 32 by 32 base plates. The large is 3 to 6, 32 by 32 base plates. And huge is 6 plus 32 by 32 base plates. 48 by 48.
I think that would technically fall in the small category because 48 by 48 is that, and 32 times 32 is 2.
Is it 1.5 for 32 by 32, something like that? In length or in width?
Actually, I'm doing the math on a calculator right now. So 232 by 32 stud base plates is 2,048 stud. That doesn't seem right.
Before I forget to mention,
I'm doing terrible math right now.
There are a couple of articles on the Brick Model Railway website. I'm going to send the links in the live chat, which have clarification rules and the categories and more information about the Octrember challenge itself. So if any questions, hopefully the answer is on our website. If not, you can send a private message through Facebook, email, or a reaction on those articles, and we will try to answer or clarify and give more information.
We come up with the rules, so we'll have an answer for them one way or another.
One way or another, yeah. It might take a while, but we have an answer.
So a 48 by 48 base plate. So a 48 by 48 base plate is 2,304 studs. Two 32 by 32 base plates are 2,048 studs. So
technically a 48 by 48 would be in the second or the middle category.
Yeah, the large.
Just slightly, yes. If you're counting actual stud footage. Square studdage.
There we go.
But it might be might be a good one to clarify though, and if we're going to look on stud footage instead of the length or the width.
Yeah, I think
that one's really kind of, it could go either way because
we probably ought to do. That's a great question, by the way. Thank you for making us think about this. What we might probably will do very shortly is come up with a alternative scaling method for 48 by 48 stud base plates, because you can fit a lot on a 48 by 48 stud base plate, a single one of those. But if you're gonna put that in the same category as our large, what we're calling our large dioramas, you know, it might be a little bit.
Yeah, it goes up to different competition. Yeah.
Yeah, you can fit a lot more in the large end of that category than you can on the small end. Not that size is a strict criteria, but it does make some
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Well, you at least want to be comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah. That's a cool
So
one.
what we I think we'll come up with a 48 by 48 stud alternate category that will be judged similarly.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it's.
Gerben won't be able to come
No,
back,
I
by the
think
way.
I'll
But
wrap
we're
it.
coming up to the hour mark
Yeah.
anyways.
I'm going to wrap this up. Just for clarification, Octrember has already started. The deadline is the 30,
31st of October.
31st of October. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
All the rules and clarification on our website. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And we hope to enjoy and see incredible builds this year.
One couple more things that I thought of.
Sure, go ahead.
We mentioned that we're running this year a little bit differently. Not in part of that is just that we're doing or focusing on entries that are not centered around the trains themselves, but doing the dioramas and the scenery around them. But we got a lot of feedback over the past 3 years about how we can lay out the time frame of our competition. So the way that we're running it, the way that we have run it, rather, is that we announce the challenge beforehand and then start accepting entries at the beginning of October and then have a grace period going into the month of November, which is nice, but often sometimes we have not announced a grace period early enough to allow other people the extra time to finish their entries, so they have just bowed out of the competition beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing this year is announcing the competition a month in advance to give everybody time to plan, start buying parts, and start building, but we're not going to begin accepting entries until the month of October, and we're going to stop accepting entries at the end of October. So hopefully you have essentially 2 full months for this rather than a month and maybe a couple weeks like before. So hopefully we'll find that this works better. That was, I think, one of the things that we got the most comments about that over the past couple of years, and we're trying to find other ways to operate this month that it works better for everyone.
Yeah. And, dioramas being a bigger build than, some of our previous years, we definitely want to give you enough time to do something cool.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think that's about it. Thank you everybody for joining. I wanted to say watching, but I'm sorry that we for the lack of video this year. But this time around.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say thanks everybody for listening because we've just had a black screen on the entire time.
I'm definitely going to fix this for the next episode. I promise to everybody I will get this fixed. I have no idea what went wrong this time. I've gone to a number of articles, but no solution have been found. Kale and Glenn, thank you for joining. I want to thank Grijband/Race too, but he's offline now because he has problems with his internet connection.
So we'll thank Gerben, but bash his internet service.
He didn't pay his bill again. So thank you everybody, and have a great day, afternoon, evening, whatever you are,
Wherever you are,
and whatever time zone you are. Thank you overall.
Thanks.
And go play
Thanks,
with some
everyone.
trains.
Yes.